built this so I know where the backing is. I've got backing, I've got the 2x6, I've got two 2x6s right here going that direction, so I know I've got something to hit here. I've got a flat 2x6 here going down that way, so I could face screw it here, face screw it there. And then I can just hold the block up there, scribe it, cut it off, and just do right there. And then this little piece, instead of being 7 1/4, it's going to be 9 inches, and it will just go through that. You see what I'm saying? Then once that's on there, then I'll measure back from here 16 inches to the center of this joist, and then I'll cut that new joist in between the 2x6s. Wedge that in there. Whew! I'm hoping that you just understood exactly what I'm trying to teach you here. This is classroom, on-site training for you. And I needed to go through that process just to make sure that the plywood was not going to be short. I didn't want this piece to be going out too far. Now, if I didn't pre-measure it like that and say, oh Joe, just cut it off afterwards. Well, it's hard to get the saw in there. 48 inches is going to be about 2 inches off of here, so I can't get my saw on there. I can't finish it over there. I could snap a line there, cut most of it, and then sawzall off both ends. I could do that, you know, but I still wanted to do this whole thing because you saw how far I tapped that. This was off about probably 3/4 of an inch. I tapped it that way to get this square, you see. And another way I could have done it, I guess I could have taken my square, loosen that up, move it down here, and use just this little bit of the square. But that would get me somewhat close. And I used to have a square that was aluminum, about 2 inches, maybe 2 inches wide or so, that went both directions. Okay, but it's only like 2 feet long, and this piece, the dog leg, is probably less than, you know, 1.5 feet, and this one might be 2 feet long, something like that. That would only get me from here to here. And if this piece has a wow in it, or a dipsy doodle, or anything like that, that little square is not going to be exactly perfect. So I got the perfect world of both worlds of being able to do the 3, 4, 5. Now, if this was a bigger deck, I would have done a 6, 8, 10, or a 12, 16, 20. And you can do it in half if you want. If you don't want to do 6, 8, 10, oh, that's too big, and 3, 4, 5 is too small, then add a half to 3, which is 1.5, so that would be 4.5, 8, 4.5, what is it? You would add half a 3 for this one, okay, which would be 1.5, so that's 4.5. Half of your 4, which is 2, so you would be 6, would be 4.5, 6, and half of 5 would be 2.5, so that's 7.5. 4.5, 6, 7.5. That would get you a square too. I've never had to really do that before. I just double it every time. 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, double 6, that's 12, double 8, 16, 12, 16, and double 10 is 20. 12, 16, 20. And you can go 24, 32, 40. You see what I mean? That gets you an exact square on whatever you're doing. So remember that. Okay, class is now pretty much over for the 3, 4, 5 method. And I'm gonna do some more measuring here, get a mark here so I know where these joists. Now I know exactly where this joist needs to go. So once I get this one set, then I can get all these other joist set, knowing that my plywood's starting from that end, coming this way, everything's going to be square coming across. The plywood's going to be 4 feet this way, 8 feet long this way. Boom, 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 boom. So when I measure and cut that, it should flop right down exactly where it needs to be. I'm still gonna cut it, and I'll flop it down loosely. And if I have to do any minor adjustments, I may have to where this stucco is. If it's fitting too tight, if it's slightly loose, that's okay too. If this corner is not perfectly square, and I cut my plywood square, I've got a little gap. I can fill that gap in before I do the flooring sealant that I'm going to put on here, and then I can wrap that up the wall and do all that kind of good stuff. Okay, so that gives me my thought process, and it's nice to think about it and decide exactly what all has to be done. You know, it took me a while yesterday to figure out this, because they had the water dipping down in the corner. Now I'm going to have the water up sloping this way and then back this way, like that. And this is coming down straight. This is kind of sloping at an angle this way and down this way. So this water is going to be coming like this. This water is going to be coming like this. And then at this point, I'm going to float this up just a little bit after I put the plywood on there. And then there's going to be a swale there. So when the water comes down, it's going to hit there and kind of come this direction away from that wall. Yeah, lots of thinking that has to go on, but you figure it out step by step. I know you can do it, because hey, if I can do it, an average Joe, of course I know you can do it too. Now probably once I get this whole thing done, and when I do the measuring for the plywood, I may still cut it slightly long, knowing that if this line is not perfectly straight, let's say this line is slightly wonky. You know, it looks straight, but let's say it's got a dip in it one way or another. I don't think it really does, so I think I'm going to be okay. But I may just cut the plywood just a little bit long on that end anyways, knowing that, okay, once I put it in here, I may have to recut this notch, shave it a little bit one way or another, and then get ready to do my final cut, let's say, then take it back down there. Okay, and then what I can also do is on my 8-foot, my last floor joist, going from the plywood, from that end over here, that last joist is actually going to fit, beyond this corner, you know, over in here somewhere. That last piece, I might want to just, the first time I bring the plywood in here, I might just want to leave that loose. And after I get this all determined, right when I get ready to do my final cut, I can say, okay, yeah, that looked fine, or okay, I need to slide it one way or another by 1/8 of an inch or whatever, because I want it in the center of the sheet. And maybe after messing around with this corner, I might have to shave off a little bit more, and then the whole 4x8 sheet ends up being beyond that edge a little bit. So then I may have to adjust this last floor joist or something. But at least see, now that floor joist is going to be between there, and you know, it's only 4 or 5 inches, 4 inches away from the ledger. So I've got all the strength of the ledger holding the plywood, the other plywood sheet, and there's not going to be, you know, there's still going to be some weight over here, but like the last the last tile is going to actually set over here, so I'm not going to have all the weight of everything on this one joist, even though the block isn't cut very long. Although that block, remember, that block's going to come out, that the next joist is probably way out here, so that little block that's then going to hold the joist is actually, I'm going to attach it from there, and it's going to come way out to here. So instead of that block being only 6 inches long, you wouldn't want to try to nail a 6-inch long block onto stucco and then have a joist hanger and have a floor joist attached on that little 6-inch block. You see what I'm saying? It could split. It's not very sturdy. I wouldn't like that. That's why I'm going to extend that block all the way over to this last full length floor joist. Okay? One last thing, remember this last block against there, because that column's so long, that's why I'm going to have the block. I'm not going to cut a block from there all the way over to this joist. I'm wasting a whole lot of that last block. I'm just going to go to there because I got plenty of backing, like I said. Now, do I want to do the same thing with this little block? Well, see, that I don't have as much as the column for that block to put on. I only got like maybe 8 inches there or so. Now I could glue it and I could screw it and it would probably be fine. But what I'm going to do is the full length floor joist is going to be maybe 8 or 9 inches further, maybe 12 inches further away from that outside corner. So on that one, I'll probably put a longer block from there over to the floor joist, so I can attach the block on the edge of end of the floor joist, and then only put a couple screws and some liquid nails in there. You'll see. I think it's making sense to you. I might be over explaining it right now, but I want you to get the full grasp of it so I can keep moving with this project. Once I get those blocks up, you'll have a better idea of everything I'm talking about. Okay? All right.